Welcome to another episode here of A&A Mustangs. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to change an oxygen sensor on your new Edge Ford Mustang. Stay tuned.
Music bed.
Okay, so we're going to get started. I have the new oxygen sensor here. I kind of already knew ahead of time which one I needed. So you have bank 1, bank 2, bank 1 passenger side, bank 2 driver side. Then you have your upstream and downstream sensors, and then I'll show you here with the scan tool what to look for. So first thing you want to do is check your codes, make sure that's what you need. Secondly, I'm going to go ahead and raise the front of the vehicle up so I can get underneath, and then I'll show you guys what to look for underneath there. All right, so what you want to do is check your codes. Obviously, make sure you have an oxygen sensor code. You can get a really inexpensive code reader from like Harbor Freight or Amazon that just reads your code. If you don't, you can also go to your parts store and get them read for free. So this is what I have here. So it's P0141 oxygen sensor heater circuit bank 1 sensor 2. And so this one I know it's my oxygen sensor because, well, there's a few things. So with the heater circuit code like this, that's telling me the heater side of the oxygen sensor has an open on it. It's not working, so it can either be the actual heater coil went bad, or the wire somewhere is defective. Most of the time on these codes it's going to be the oxygen sensor, but it can be your wiring somewhere has a cut on it, so keep that in mind. If your sensor is just telling you that your vehicle is running lean, a lot of times that's not the sensor that's bad, that's just telling you, it's just giving you a message, so keep that in mind. Bank 1 refers to where the number 1 cylinder is. So on a Mustang, bank 1 is your passenger side. If it was bank 2, that would be your driver side. Sensor 2, that is the second sensor, so after catalytic converter. Sensor 1 would be the one on top. So bank 1 passenger, sensor 2 all the way at the back. So now I know exactly which sensor I need to look at, inspect the connector and all that, and then get it replaced. Okay, now that I have the car jacked up here, I do have my oxygen sensor out of the package here, and so you can go really with any brand that you want to go with. I had good luck with the NTK ones. The price range is pretty good, and they seem to last, decent amount of time. I used to always use Bosch, but it seems like lately, I gone through a lot. Like on the Roush when I had it, I had to change them really often. It seemed that they didn't last long. That's just really, it's personal preference. I don't think there's nothing really different. I would like to go with Motorcrafts, but at this time I couldn't get them. It was back order, and so they are a little bit more expensive, but that's what I usually tend to go with. 7/8 wrench is what's gonna fit in here. Now, there's different things that you can do to take it off. If you never had them off and they're really seized, you might want to rent a socket. So if you rent the correct socket, it's going to be a deep socket. You can go to your local auto parts store, and it's going to be similar to one of these here, deep socket, but it's going to have a slit cut right here on the side, about 1/4 inch, and that's so that you can pretty much leave your wire sticking out when you put the socket in. So that's the one. They rent like a little kit, most of like O'Reilly Auto Parts and AutoZone. They rent a kit that comes with that type of socket, and then one that's kind of like open on the top, and then it has a little tab sticking out where you put your ratchet. And so that way, same thing, it's got a slit, you put it over, and then you put your ratchet on the hex, on the square here on the side, and that's where you turn it from. I'm sure you could buy those as well, like Harbor Freight or even at the parts store, but you know, if you're not going to be doing it on a daily, you know, you don't have to spend the money on it. Another thing that you can do is, if you don't have the time or you don't want to rent it out, you know, it depends on the vehicle. So Mustangs, especially the back ones, are easier to get to. If they're not too tight, they should have anti-seize when you put them on, but if it's the factory ones, you can go with the open side wrench. Or what you can do is, let me set this here down for a second. What you can do, now this one has these plastic tabs, which I'm actually not going to use, so I'm just going to cut them off now. I know, because I have an aftermarket X-pipe in there, and I just have them zip tied. So, and again, this sensor might be kind of not universal, but it might fit multiple applications. That's why it has these little plastic pieces on there. But anyways, on here on your Mustang, what you can do is unplug it first and see how I can get my wrench through the connector, and just get your wrench all the way in, and that way you have a better, you know, contact on all sides. If you're able to do that, then maybe you can put like another wrench here to help you with leverage. That'll make it easier to take off. So that's another option. Another option is you can cut the wires. If you're going to replace it anyways, you're not going to reuse the old one, cut the wires right up here and then just use a deep socket if there's room for that as well. So different ways, you know. Try to avoid cutting your wires if you're gonna have to reuse it, because I mean, that's just gonna give you more work. But let me get underneath here and then I'll show you where those sensors are. Okay, so we're under the car here. Make sure your car is in jack stands, you know, secured. So first we have the oxygen sensors. You can see, let me put the light to shine in there, but you can see this is the passenger top one. Now keep in mind, I have no cats on this car, off-road exhaust here, so it's very open here. You know, I can easily get the wrench in here or even one of those sockets if I needed to. If you have your cats, there's going to be a cat here on the corner and then another one right here, but that's going to make it kind of harder to get to this sensor here. So keep that in mind if you have your factory exhaust system on there. That's the passenger, so this would be bank 1, sensor 1 right up here on the passenger side. And then we have here on this side here, driver's side, and that's bank 2, sensor 1. You know, same thing with mine, it's pretty open here because there's no catalytic converter, so I can get right through it. You might notice I had welded this, and that's because I had to replace the bung on this SB X-pipe. When I bought it, it was completely damaged on the threads, and so it damaged my oxygen sensor and I couldn't get it in, so I had to end up just kind of like welding it in there because that was my only transportation at that time. And so they wouldn't exchange it out to me because they said I modified it, but I mean, I was damaged. But anywho, and then the plugs are right up there, so you can see, you know, you gotta kind of slide your hand in there, push the tab, and unplug them. Same with this side. So not having the catalytic converters here gives you a lot more room to get in there and unplug them. With the catalytic converter in here, I mean, you just have to kind of go really tight here. Now from the top you can get to it. Sometimes the plugs are kind of held on top of the bell housing, and if you don't have a supercharger like I do, you have a lot more room to get from the top of the engine and just unplug that plug from up there. So here on the back, so we have the other O2 sensors. So I have this one up here. This is my bank 1 sensor 2, which is the one I'm changing out today. On this side we have bank 2 sensor 2. So, like I said before, I have them here zip tied to my cross member on the transmission. You know, make sure the wires are out of the way. So they're right in here. I also do have the mill eliminator lights. So you guys know, if you don't have oxygen sensor, then your vehicle is gonna have a check engine light. So I think you can still get them, but they used to sell these mill eliminators. It's like a little jumper harness that tricks the computer to thinking these are reading less oxygen, I'm thinking, or you know, less fuel, whatever. I thought I was gonna have to unplug that zip tie, but it looks like my sensor is plugged right in here, so I can unplug it. And the pigtail's just right there, so I'll just put the new one in there. But this is where the factory kind of harness is, as you can see. So, you know, purple with purple, blue with blue, you just gotta match those. Now the aftermarket sensors don't have the color coded. And I'm pretty sure I had replaced these with factory Ford ones. But looking at them now, I might have not done that because they look pretty old. And I don't know even if the factory Motorcraft ones, when you buy them aftermarket now, or you know, like a replacement one, I don't know if they have the same color coded plug. So maybe these are factory from the car. But anyways, I'm gonna take that sensor off here, unplug it, and then replace it with a new one. Let's see how tight that plug is. So, or not the plug, but that sensor. And the plug too here. So sometimes these little tabs don't want to break loose, so you have to fight with them a little bit. There you go. So it's not too bad. Came right off. So sometimes, I mean, you have to push this little tab down. I don't know if you can see it here. And sometimes, especially the ones up front, you can't really see, so it's really hard to push, and then they're tied in there. So, you know, just kind of work around it. Got my wrench here. Yeah, see, these are pretty loose in there. Or not loose, but they're not tight, because even if I did reuse the factory, or you know, the original ones, I did put some anti-seize in there, so makes it easier to take them off. So you can see there's that sensor. So most of the time, the aftermarket ones, you can see they have a longer wire as well, and they do that, you know, same thing like I said before. This part number is probably going to be sold for multiple vehicles, and instead of making a bunch of different size wires, they just, you know, kind of say, well, you have extra wire, just tuck it around. In some vehicles that needed longer wire, well, there you have it. So that's one thing. I know some of the Bosch ones you can choose, like, you know, if you want like a 6-inch wire or whatever, they'll have options. But this one, that was the only option available, I guess, so that's okay. So just go ahead and tighten this one up. I'm not sure what the torque specs are, probably like 15 foot-pounds or something like that. They have that crush washer on top, so, you know, make sure they're tight, but they don't have to be super tight. So make sure it's all seated nice. And so now I'm gonna plug it in. I'm just gonna line it up here with this, and then make sure it clicks. There we go. Now, since I do have this little bit extra wire, I'll probably just kind of slip it in here with the zip tie. Just like that. I mean, you just don't want it to touch the exhaust, but that's really not going to go nowhere. I can put another zip tie through here to tighten this up. Might as well do that since I brought the bag of zip ties down here. I guess it's better to be safe and not have your wire move and burn on the exhaust and saving a zip tie here. So all right, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the excess off here. And there you have it. Okay, once you're done with that, lower the car down back from the jack stands. You do have to reset your check engine light. So if you have your code reader, you can go ahead and reset it. If you drive the vehicle for quite a while, the light will reset itself once the computer does the test on it. I don't think if you go to the auto parts store, they're not allowed to delete your codes just the way it is. So you can also unplug the negative side of your battery, but that is going to reset everything on your vehicle, you know, radio and everything. So but once you do that, then that's it. You can discard your old sensor, recycle it, whatever you want to do with it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Pretty short video there, but you know, pretty much to the point of how to change your sensors. Same process for either one that you're going to replace. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. Any comments, questions, leave them below. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one.